We're live. Yeah, there we go. Hello, this is Barry Wolfe. I'm with Marcus and Millichap and another episode of Wolfe Bites. I'm really excited. I've got my friend Stacey Mooney with us. And Stacey, I know you do an amazing job every year. We were just talking about all the different conferences you organize, host, and plan and own. Retail Live, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and the phenomenal conference Retail Live most years.
Sure,
And
sure.
so.
Yeah. So I own Retail Live, which is a commercial real estate conference, of course, and the focus is retailers are our exhibitors. We have about 95% of the exhibitors are retailers. And of course, everyone that attends are brokers, landlords, and developers that are looking to present sites to those retailers. And I have anywhere from 3 or 4 events a year, unless we're talking about 2020. Just had one, which was in Scottsdale in February before all of this craziness started. And I'm also a broker, and I do some tenant representation in Florida and Georgia.
Fantastic. No, and retail, for folks who listen, if you've not been to Retail Live event, I know you'll get it back up and going. It's a fantastic event. It's just a lot of fun, half day, day. So it's not a long-term time commitment or tons of travel. It's really, you get more retailers out there than I think any, than ICSC. Was for that.
Well,
but no, you do a great job, and you really do. I mean, you get a lot of retailers out there, and it's a great event.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly, this is like we have fun. You and I have talked about the idea that, and I tell everybody this, but I jokingly say that networking doesn't have to suck, and that mostly comes from my experience of I'm a very social person. I love to talk to pretty much anybody. My dad used to say I've never met a stranger, and I think that that's still true, but. When it would come to most of the conferences, there was always a sense of dread for me. I think most of just, the setting up the meetings, the preparation for it, just the expectation of making sure it was a productive use of your time. Obviously, you have some cost involved in those that are not inexpensive. And I just, like I said, I felt dread, and I just wanted to create a conference where it was effective. It wasn't a huge time commitment. Where we really had access to the retailers, which I think is also lacking at a lot of events, and and have fun. And I mean, I think people have fun, and I love that about what we do. So
you do a great job. So no, look forward to getting back to one here before long. I sure hope. So no, Stacey,
you and me both.
Yeah. So I know we've obviously been, this has been a difficult start to the year, obviously. Last 30, 45 days, nobody's enjoying. A lot of challenges, a lot of, we're all stuck at home, we're both working in our bedrooms right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, same here. I got this background, but.
I know. I told Tyler Carlson, I don't care. My bed, this is my bed. At least I made it,
Yeah, better than mine.
And at least it's quiet.
Yeah, but not going down the rabbit hole of negativity. I mean, you do a lot of great posts with some, it's really some great personal, real stories and kind of some things you've gone through. But kind of putting the negative aside, what are some things that has worked for you this year? What's been positive? Maybe even, is there anything you've kind of learned going through this that's been almost as if, I kind of learned this. I'm almost glad we went through this. And it's an
experience. Oh, yes. I mean, honestly, I could tear up talking about it, which, I mean, again, I'm hugely emotional. And if anybody's been following my posts on LinkedIn these days, I think they would believe that to be true, because I'm putting myself more and more out there. So people are probably starting to see that. But I think, the big two things. One is, like a lot of people when this started, admittedly, I was, I use the word spiraling. It was like the world was falling apart. I was, Retail Live is a huge component of my personal income, and I had to cancel that. And, it wasn't just the money. It was about 7 months of work that had gone into it, and for nothing, combined with the financial loss was certainly not easy. And then, as I mentioned, I do tenant representation. And of course, my clients are saying, hit the brakes, we're not doing anything. And so that was all very hard. And I went from, like, a lot of people feeling like, wow, this is going to be a great year. I'm on track to have probably one of the best years of my career. And just in a matter of I think it was 4 days, it just all seemingly went away. And so, I went through that period of like, I mean, honestly, probably nobody wanted to be around me. I was just, really in the dumps. And then I can't remember the moment, but I just decided, I decided to do the Meet the Retailers webinar series.
It's been great.
As just, yeah, I mean, part of it was just, I need to do something. And part of it was recognizing that we still need access to these retailers, and we need to understand what their plans are, and what does it look like when we come back? What are they thinking? Are they going to grow? Or are they going to change their format? All those things that we're all talking about. And as I started to put new things in place, like Meet the Retailers, I started not feeling so bad. And it had nothing to do with money. I'm not making, obviously any money, don't charge for that. But when I realized that just doing that was changing how I was feeling, it made me want to do more of it.
Yeah.
And you and you and I have talked about, I made the decision to let the trade books be downloaded for free, which I had never done. And it was like, the more I gave, the happier I was, which, I mean, people talk about that all the time. And I think we all do that in our lives, from time to time, but really just like, I was doing a lot more of that. And like I said, the more I did it, the better I felt. And what's been so awesome about that is the people that I have met. This is where the tearing up part happens. I have met some of the absolute coolest people. Barry, you are one of them. I mean, we already knew each other, but the level of support from people, strangers, and just the engagement with people that would have never happened had this, world not fallen apart, had I not gotten more involved with social media, had I not started the webinar series. I mean, I would still not know them. And I will tell you that, I see people ask a lot to folks like you and Beth and, all these people, all of us that are doing a lot on social media, have you actually gotten any business out of it? And I'm here to tell you that I absolutely believe that business is coming. And what's cool about it is it's business that I would have never seen myself involved with. It's related, but it's different. And so it's just been really, rewarding to like put myself out there, do things for others, and see how people respond to that. I just can't emphasize it enough. If you're not engaging with people, if you're not putting yourself out there, you should be, because it's so amazing, the friendships that have really deepened or started just in the last, 6 weeks. It's been pretty great.
That's fantastic. And it's really hadn't been that long. And I know you've shared some personal stories on social media, and that's gotten people to, and it's hard. I mean, but it's gotten people, I think, to know you even better at a higher level. And I imagine that's people reaching out to you in that regard. So, I mean, I give you a lot of credit for everything you've done.
Oh, thank you. I I didn't really think about it. I just, I think sometimes you feel inspired, and I would, there's been times where I'd post something and go, oh gosh, was that a mistake? Did I, like I said to you the other day, like, is it too much? But again, what's been like incredible, I've had people have made a point to reach out to me, and fascinatingly enough, it's been actually a lot of men. And I know people think not because they're being inappropriate or anything, but just they're like, they're not typically, it's not okay for them to express themselves that way or be emotional. And they've all kind of said like, thank you for doing that. It's inspired me and it's encouraged me. And one guy, well, two in particular, just really touching stories, that, honestly, if no one else ever responded, just those two people alone has meant a lot to me to have had any influence on people like that. So
I think this time is hard on. I mean, we're all going through it, so it's not a regional event. It's not even a national event. I mean, it's worldwide, and we're all going through this. It's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of challenges we're all facing. I mean, I think every single one of us has at least days that you feel like I just can't do this anymore.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I think for us to be there for each other when we get to that point, and try to pick each other up when we get to that point, because we honestly, I think we all get to that moment.
Everybody has a day or two, it's like we're all taking turns.
Yeah, exactly. So, out of curiosity,
Yeah.
so you mentioned as far as the retailers, I know you work with some great retailers, Crunch and others. What are you hearing? I mean, I know you're doing these webinars. I mean, looking out 30, 60, 90 days, what are the retailers telling you as it relates to getting back to normal, Crunch Fitness opening up again, or others that you're working with?
Yeah, so interesting. I posted a video today on my LinkedIn page where the CEO and founder of the Crunch franchise group that I work for did a video for his members. Not just him, all these retailers. What I'm hearing is it's like of course they want to get back open. They feel pressure to get back open, financial pressure, I think, probably more than anything. And they want to get their employees working again, of course, because they they feel for their employees who don't have incomes or have been furloughed or what have you. And so they're anxious to get reopened, and yet I think there's also significant pushback. When I posted the video from Vince, he was talking about what their reopening plan looks like by way of cleanliness measures they're taking for their gyms. I had messages from people, and some people even commented like that. Georgia's governor's being very irresponsible in reopening. And I just think I feel for all these people who have to make these decisions, because there's not an easy answer.
No.
There's just not. I'll say, so they've made the decision to reopen because they feel, again, an obligation to, one, their landlords who they have rent to pay, and if they can't open, they should. And two, their employees who are dying to get back to work. That's the decision that they've made. They feel that's what's best, and they're putting, I think he said he has a 37-page, literally manual he's put out.
Wow.
For his employees on cleanliness and all these measures they're doing. But I also heard from another retailer today who I can't name, but is a national anchor that prior to all this was very, very active. And they basically said, we don't really care what the states say, or even, the local jurisdictions, what they say about reopening. That doesn't mean we're going to necessarily reopen. We'll reopen when we feel it's safe to do so. So I think it's each individual retailer making the decision for themselves. And I think some are anxious to get out there and reopen. And I think some are taking a much more, cautious approach to that. So
I think that's what we're going to see. I agree. I had that conversation earlier this week. I think it literally is going to be jurisdictional, as you said, state to state, county to county, even maybe. And I agree with you. I think retailer to retailer, and some of them, frankly, they're a legal counsel maybe be telling them, guys, we can't open yet. We don't think we think there's too much risk from a legal standpoint. So I agree. I think we're going to see that. Some brands open earlier than others. It doesn't mean they're right, they're wrong. I do think it's going to be brand to brand, and how many people are allowed and what they each do. It is all going to be different. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, when we do get reopened, when the world does get back to normal, where does Stacey go? What's your first venture out, your first meal? What's have you kind of thought about that? Basic.
I'm going to tell you what, it's not going to involve the children. I love my kids, but I saw a video today where
drink involved somewhere.
What was that?
There might be a drink involved, alcohol.
Oh yeah. In an ideal world, I would be at the bar at Capitol Grill. That would be where I would,
Here we go.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, I love my children, but I've seen more of them than,
I got a feeling it's probably, if it's anything like my house, it's probably a mutual feeling.
They probably feel the same way about me. I mean, they're complaining about not seeing their friends. So I think we're all, in the same boat in that regard. But I mean, I've wondered about these, there's been obviously a lot of talk about, so when particularly restaurants reopen, are you going to, actually you posted about this, about, you're going to sit out on the patio, or are you going to be inside? And this is, I don't mean to, this sounds probably naive to a lot of people, but I just don't really have a fear about it. And maybe that's because I'm not out there, because I'll tell you, right before it was really shut down, I went to Costco thinking I was totally, just not really, I would be cautious and it would be okay. But as soon as I was in there and I saw everyone else being masked up in gloves, I had anxiety, so I mean, I say that now, and what it actually looks like when you're out is probably
everybody else's story. Yeah, just say if everybody else is walking around with masks on and what have you. I guess we have to. I don't know the answers, so I guess we'll
You know,
see.
speaking of masks, that's one thing that it was last week's episode of that where he had Urban Air and Sharky's Cuts for Kids
Yeah.
and Jersey Mike's, and they were all talking about how they're all doing branded, logoed masks. And I know Crunch is doing logoed masks, so I guess that's going to be the new thing.
I hope we don't get to the point where your Happy Meal comes with a mask.
Right,
Ronald
it'll
McDonald
be like,
mask. Oh,
instead of the Disney figurine, it'll be a mask with like the latest
Jeez.
Disney movie on it, right?
That's what we've come. That's what we've come to.
I
Wow.
know. It's hard
Yeah.
to believe. It
Yeah.
really is.
Well, thanks so much. I mean, I knew this would be a lot of fun, and it was.
Thank you
Stacey,
for
how
having
can
me.
folks out there find you? I know you're all over the place on social and otherwise.
Yeah, so let's see. For Retail Live, you can go to retaillive.com. I am Stacey with an EY Mooney. I've got my personal page on LinkedIn, and then we also have a Retail Live business page on LinkedIn. You can follow us on Retail Live USA on Instagram, and we have a Facebook page as well. And I do want to say, as of today, we have the next Retail Live happening in Austin, Texas on September 3rd for the South Central. Barry was great in there last year, and hopefully the show goes on and we have another great one.
That was a fantastic conference actually last year. So if you're able to get it, anyone out in Texas or the southwest part of the country, it was packed with a lot of
It was a
retailers.
great show.
Yeah,
Great show.
it really was.
Yep.
Thanks so much for
Thank you,
joining.
Barry.
Just be well, you and your family.
Yeah, you too. Let's catch up again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thanks.
you.